Welcome to Ask Angela, relationship advice for love after trauma. I'm Angela Amias, here to help you navigate intimate relationships as I answer real questions about love, loss, and everything in between. This is where we untangle old patterns that keep us stuck and discover new possibilities for connection. Relationships after trauma need a different kind of wisdom, and I'm so glad you're here. Hey there. In this episode, I'm going to be answering a question from Hallie. Hallie writes, how do you release the grief and hurt of being treated badly by someone you cared for deeply? Dear Hallie, grieving the end of a relationship in which you were treated badly is really hard. To start with, when a relationship like this ends, there's often a lack of validation from others about your need for space and time to grieve the end of the relationship. It may even be the case that those who care about you are actually celebrating the end of this relationship. For example, your friends who've been following along with all the ups and downs of this relationship might respond to your news of the breakup by saying things like, good riddance, or you're so much better off without them, or finally, it's about time. These are meant, of course, as expressions of love, and they're coming from people who love you and who see that you haven't been treated as well as you deserve. But being surrounded by others who treat the end of your relationship as good news can end up creating more confusion, isolation, and guilt that complicates your ability to properly grieve your breakup. It's understandable that your friends would react this way. After all, they didn't experience the good parts of your relationship. They only heard about the bad parts. They're operating according to the black and white relationship rule of when someone treats you badly, you should leave the relationship as quickly as you can. But sometimes the heart wants what it wants, even if it knows it's supposed to want something different. The truth is that we don't have a cultural love story that involves having to end a relationship because it's just not good for you. When we fall in love, we think there's going to be a happily ever after. We mistakenly believe that relationships only end if two people stop loving each other. A relationship that ends even though you still love the other person, and maybe they love you too, feels completely wrong. The reality is that we leave hurtful relationships because we have to, not because we want to. We leave when we finally accept that there are no other options than to end it. There's no way to be in this relationship and also be psychologically, emotionally, and physically well. We end it when we finally see that the relationship can't be fixed and it's not going to get better. And part of us knows that we deserve something far better than what we're getting in this relationship. At the same time, what makes it hard to leave these kinds of relationships is the fact that the relationship isn't all bad. That's the part our friends so often overlook. There were good parts about the relationship, and there were good parts about our partner too. I'm guessing that for every 10 bad moments you can remember about this relationship, you can also probably remember something really beautiful that happened. And the weird thing about toxic relationships is that because the ratio of bad to good moments is so skewed, those good moments taste far sweeter. Even though they're few and far between, if you're like most people who've been in a toxic relationship, You probably find that you're able to recall the good moments with a power and a clarity that you can't summon up when you're trying to remember what was bad. It's the loss of the sweet moments that can feel especially hard to grieve. It's because it's these beautiful moments, rare as they were, that gave you a window into what the relationship could be, if only you could figure out how to get more of the good and less of the hurtfulness, the meanness, and the disregard. Those sweet moments became the foundation for what you imagined this relationship could become if you kept the faith and stuck it out long enough to figure out that secret code to getting the good without the bad. And in order to grit your way through the hard times, that dream of how it could be felt more and more real as you spent more time imagining it, even if it never became real in actual reality. Grief isn't just about the loss of your partner or the relationship. It's also the loss of the dream of what you imagined for the relationship. And just as painful as this loss of the dream is the realization that someone you love deeply did not care for you in the way that you deserved. Healing the heartbreak of being hurt by someone you loved takes time, and it requires learning how to be tender toward your own pain, even if those around you don't really get what you're going through. So let's talk about what makes the breakup grief process more challenging after the end of a relationship where you were treated badly. All breakups can be painful, but there are some particular aspects of hurtful relationships that need more attention during the grieving process. While the relationship itself has ended, you still may have lingering emotional connections that will take time to dissolve. You will likely still have lingering emotional connections that are going to take some time to dissolve. And on top of that, you likely have a lot of unresolved questions about how someone you loved could hurt you so deeply. Toxic or otherwise unhealthy relationships can end up tapping into and reinforcing core wounds from childhood relationships. These are beliefs like, it's my job to earn love from others, or I'm not lovable the way I am, or I'm too much, or I'm not enough. When we internalize these kinds of beliefs about ourselves and how we need to be in relationships in order to receive love, we are more vulnerable to ending up in a toxic relationship in which these kinds of messages are reinforced. These kinds of unloving relationships in which we're mistreated can feel normal. Or we can unconsciously feel driven to prove ourselves that we are worthy of love by trying to earn it from a partner who withholds consistent care, kindness, and loving attention. So here are 3 practices that you can use to help yourself grieve this relationship. The first is simply acknowledging reality. Grieving after a hurtful relationship involves coming to accept that we don't actually have the power to make another person treat us well. We also don't have the power to make them love us properly. And the absence of love and kindness isn't evidence that we don't deserve love. If you find yourself ruminating on what you could have done differently in order to earn your partner's love instead of mistreatment, experiment with what it feels like to simply allow yourself to feel sad Instead of blaming yourself for what happened in the relationship or fixating on what you could have done differently in order to get the relationship to be mutually fulfilling. For example, you might try a simple mantra like, "I'm sad that they weren't capable of loving me consistently and kindly." This kind of mantra that focuses on the sadness has the benefit of acknowledging reality that your partner wasn't capable of healthy love without trying to assign blame or figuring out how you could have fixed this situation. Accepting reality instead of arguing against it or trying to change it is a key foundation of being able to grieve what happened in the relationship. The second practice is simply releasing blame. A big part of what keeps individuals emotionally tangled in a toxic or otherwise hurtful relationship, even after it's over, is trying to allocate the correct portions of blame about what went wrong in the relationship. Most likely, if you were in this relationship for a long time, you got very familiar with taking on all the blame and responsibility for what wasn't going well in the relationship. It's important to release that self-blame as part of your grieving process. Whenever you find yourself going down the route of blaming yourself or thinking about what you could have done differently, a simple reminder like, "I deserve to be treated kindly and with love," can help to redirect you onto a path of healing. Honestly, that may not feel very believable at first. Your inner critic might try pointing out all the mistakes you made along the way, as if to say that you did deserve what happened. And that's not true, even if it feels true right now. The other thing that makes this particular step difficult is when you believe that you have the power to change another person. And that's also not true, even if it feels true right now. Another misstep that individuals can make along this part of the grieving journey is to imagine what your former partner might say. As you're reminding yourself that you deserve to be treated kindly and with love, they might pile on the criticisms and they might add their own suggestions of everything that you should have done differently in this relationship. As much as you can, don't engage with these kinds of inner dialogues. You probably already spent a lot of time in your relationship trying to convince your partner that you deserved to be treated better. You don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to prove to any kind of hostile audience, even the one in your own head, that you deserve to be treated kindly and with love. The third step is to engage in self-care. Even after a hurtful relationship is over, it has a way of taking up way too much mental and emotional space in our lives. Part of grieving after a breakup involves rebuilding your relationship with yourself. Carving out time to invest in doing the things that you find particularly meaningful and healing is important. What those things are can be completely unique to you. Consider what kinds of activities help you feel energized, restored, and reconnected to yourself, and make sure that you're prioritizing time for yourself in these ways. Consistently treating ourselves with care and kindness is a powerful affirmation that we are worthy of being treated well by others too. And on that note, Hallie, I'm wishing you continued healing as you gently surrender past pain and allow it to transform into a deep and true knowing of what you deserve in your relationships moving forward. And on that note, listener, thanks for tuning in. That's it for this episode of Ask Angela, relationship advice for love after trauma. If something in this episode resonated with you, come join the conversation at askangela.co. And if you'd like to submit a question of your own to be considered for a future episode, you can also do that at askangela.co. I'll be back soon with another episode, and until then, lots of love.